Tonight, party politics. Next year's municipal election in Fort St. John could look a bit different. Convoy. Farmers taking part in a nationwide protest Saturday. And bear attack. Children and teachers attack near Bella Coola. Well, good evening and thank you very much for joining us. And we begin tonight with what could be a big change to next year's municipal elections. Conservatives across BC looking to bring party politics to city councils, including in Fort St. John. But not everyone thinks it's a good idea, including the MLA for Peace River North. Noah Abel has our top story.
Municipal elections in BC are less than a year away, and voters in Fort St. John could have more to consider when choosing candidates. That's because those running at the local level can now register as being conservative.
Our candidates represent common sense conservative values that many voters already know and trust: careful spending, lower taxes, and a focus on safety and basic services.
Caroline Finlay says candidates must prove they have conservative values to receive money and support from the party.
There's often a lack of clarity from candidates and councils, basically on where they would stand on key issues. So what we're trying to provide is clarity and honesty.
But the MLA for Peace River North says party affiliations can be destructive to the municipal politics.
If they bring this party system in, it now turns it into partisan politics within a structure and system that is supposed to be meant to be nonpartisan and based off democracy in those councils.
Keeley argues it can create a disconnect between a provincial government and a municipality that have different political ideologies. However, a prominent political scientist says while there can be friction, politicians still have to work together.
Generally speaking, they find a way to work together. That's what their electors expect.
Back to Finlay, she expects higher turnouts at upcoming elections. Less than 18% of the Fort St. John population voted at the last election. She says conservative voters will be able to better understand who to vote for. Telford expects more parties to register in the city in the future.
I think it's only a matter of time before smaller municipalities see this development as well, particularly given the fundraising environment that now exists.
If you do want to get into government and you don't have major fundraising or major social media, it puts you at a major disadvantage.
The Conservative Electors Association is currently registered in 15 cities across BC. Municipal elections will be held on October 17 of next year. Noah Abel, CJDC-TV News, Dawson Creek.
Farmers across the Peace region planning a convoy this weekend. They're joining many communities taking part in a country-wide protest. Organizer Sky Cobbett says the protest begins at 11 a.m. at the Charlie Lake boat launch. The convoy will head south on the Alaska Highway. Cobbett says the rally allows farmers to shed light on issues that impact everyone. Issues like overtaxation from the government, saying a lot of farmers now have to sell their farms. And Cobbett adds that a lot more people support farmers after the ostrich cull in southeast British Columbia. She says this was not the first time the Canadian Food Inspection Agency overreached, and the organization needs to be held accountable. Organizers are inviting the community to join the convoy and are hoping for a big turnout. Well, a reminder about delays on the Taylor Bridge tonight as maintenance gets underway. The maintenance will take place this evening from 7 p.m. until 3 in the morning. During this time, motorists are being asked to watch for traffic control personnel. A single-lane alternating traffic will be in effect. Oversized loads are advised to schedule routes accordingly, as they will not be allowed to cross the bridge during the work. And drivers are being asked to monitor the Drive BC website for information and updates. New measles cases to report tonight, and once again, they're all coming from right here in Northeast BC. The BC Centre for Disease Control announcing 17 new cases since their last update on November the 13th, and that brings the total this year here in the Northeast to 274. Almost 80% of all cases across the province have come from our region. Now, there are 4 active cases across BC right now, again, all of which here are in Northeast BC. Officials continue to urge residents to get vaccinated, saying misinformation is being spread online about vaccines and is contributing to the high number of cases here in Northeast BC. A group of 9 and 10-year-old students were out for a walk when they were attacked by a grizzly bear. It's a nightmare scenario that took place in the remote coastal community of Bella Coola. 3 children and 1 adult are in hospital. 2 patients are in critical condition, the other 2 with serious injuries. Kamel Karamali has the latest.
This small BC community of Bella Coola left shaken after a grizzly bear unprovoked attacked a group of teachers and students, 9 and 10-year-olds, out on a school field trip Thursday afternoon, injuring 3 children and 1 adult. 2 of them left in critical condition.
The group had stopped along a trail near the community when a grizzly bear emerged from the forest and attacked. Teachers successfully repelled the bear using pepper spray and a bear banger.
Those injured transported to Vancouver for treatment. The local New Hulk First Nation says it could have been much worse if teachers hadn't fought back, but now left with significant trauma to their community.
I want to thank the teachers for their heroism, their early accounts of their willingness to confront this vicious animal.
Conservation officers say the bear was believed to be previously injured. Now the hunt is on to try and locate the grizzly.
Captured mitigation techniques have been set to capture and evaluate the bear in question.
The New Hulk First Nation advising the community of roughly 2,000 people to not go looking for it, asking the public to not walk anywhere tonight. With the school now closed and the public advised to remain indoors, counseling services are being provided to a community now trying to heal. Kamel Karamali, CTV News.
And a man is dead after an incident at a mine in southeast BC. The RCMP say 39-year-old man from Hosmer had been reported missing at the Elk Valley Resources operation in Sparwood near the Alberta border. Police say the mine rescue team immediately began searching for the individual. Well, his remains were confirmed to have been found on Friday morning. The man was a contractor at the mine site. And police are now on scene along with the BC Coroner Service. No other information on the circumstances surrounding the man's death is being released at this time. Well, to the latest now on the controversial pipeline proposal to BC's North Coast. Premier David Eby says he found out from the media about talk between Alberta Premier and Ottawa, including a potential plan to lift the tanker ban. And Eby was also surprised to hear Saskatchewan's Premier has been involved in talks about the pipeline through BC. Eby saying both Danielle Smith and Scott Moe should know better.
I feel like I'm watching a couple tourists wearing sandals wander into the woods on the north shore of Vancouver, saying, "Don't worry about us, we know where we're going." They're going to have to be rescued by a helicopter, and guess who has to send the helicopter? In terms of British Columbia's knowledge about the stakeholders, about what's required, about any aspect of this pipeline, which does not actually exist, I think we can bring some information to the table.
Eby once again repeating today he's open to maximizing capacity of the existing Trans Mountain pipeline. Now, both the federal government and Alberta Premier say that negotiations are continuing. And word that Alberta and Ottawa are working towards a pipeline agreement is raising alarm bells along BC's northern coast. As Ben Miljour reports, opponents say they're gearing up for a fight to a familiar battle.
From the mid-2000s until 2016, the prospect of a pipeline to the North Coast galvanized protesters across the province. A federal court eventually overturned Northern Gateway's approval over a lack of consultation. Now Ottawa and Alberta may be on the verge of a memorandum of understanding that could see a similar pipeline proposal and an easing of a tanker ban in waters environmentalists say are among the most dangerous in the world to navigate.
There is a reason why this tanker ban is in place, and oil tankers will never be in that strait and should never be in that strait. It would be absolutely reckless.
During an unrelated interview about a listing cargo barge taking on water near Bella Bella, a Coast Guard official told CTV News coastal First Nations play a key role in marine emergency and hazard response.
It's safe to say that response is heavily reliant on First Nations partners up and down the coast.
But some First Nations say they are under-resourced to respond to even moderate marine emergencies.
We're looking at a vessel of this size right now, and we're under capacity with this response.
North of Bella Bella in Hecate Strait, which oil tankers would cross if a new pipeline was built, weather conditions can change rapidly.
Couple that with the shallow waters, the big waves, the big tides, the big winds, and all the other existing traffic, and the lack of capacity to respond to emergencies, it's a recipe for disaster.
Veterans of the fight against oil pipelines and tankers, those in opposition, vow to put the full weight of their experience and convictions into the next battle.
A pipeline will never happen here. It's not something we can accept, or the tanker traffic.
Ben Milger, CTV News, Vancouver.
And the province of Alberta has tabled a bill giving regulated professionals more freedom to express countering points of view without fear of repercussion.
Everyone should have the right to express their personal views freely. No professional should fear losing their license, their reputation, or their livelihood because of a personal opinion, a social media post, an interview, or open dialogue outside of working hours. We want to ensure that professional regulatory bodies keep their focus on areas within their scope.
Danielle Smith is calling it Peterson's Law, named after psychologist and social media personality Jordan Peterson. He was sanctioned by Ontario's professional regulator for controversial and potentially degrading public statements. Well, dozens of professionals can no longer be disciplined by their regulatory body for conduct outside of work hours unless it's violent or sexual in nature. Also in the legislation is a clause to limit certain types of mandatory work education. Now, regulatory bodies will no longer be able to provide diversity, equity, and inclusion training unless it's directly related to the job. It's currently unclear how that will be policed by Smith's government. The federal Conservatives are pushing to make changes to asylum rules in the Liberals' border security bill.
Being convicted of a serious crime should be a minimum standard that Canadian law enforces when it comes to deciding whether or not a non-citizen should be allowed to stay in the country. Non-citizens who are convicted of an indictable offense like sexual assault in Canada should face deportation, period.
The proposed changes include disallowing asylum claims from people who came through Europe or another G7 country on their way to Canada. The changes would also mean no social benefits for asylum seekers. Exceptions would be made for emergency medical treatment. The amendments also target non-citizens convicted of any crime. The bill will be before a House committee next week. Well, Defense Minister David McGuinty was questioned about the U.S. ambassador to Canada's comment that the future of trade talks hinge on Canada's purchase of the F-35 fighter jet.
The review of the F-35 acquisition project continues. It is one that is going to take the time it's going to take. We're going to get this right. This is a major acquisition for Canada. And this is something that I've stated unequivocally on many occasions before. The review continues.
Ambassador Hoekstra has also suggested that changing the F-35 deal could impact NORAD. Canada has committed to purchasing 88 of the F-35 jets in a deal inked back in 2023. But the federal government said in this spring it was reviewing the deal. Ottawa has also signaled it may diversify its fleet by purchasing Gripen fighter jets from the Swedish defense company Saab. Well, the Prime Minister touched down in South Africa this afternoon for the G20 summit. The visit comes on the heels of his trip to the United Arab Emirates, where he secured a pledge of $70 billion. And as Rachel Aiello reports, the money will be invested in Canadian energy, AI, mining, and other sectors.
Over the next year, we will take significant measures to elevate our relationship.
Speaking to a crowd of Emirati and Canadian business leaders, the Prime Minister said his government is ready to start reaping the benefits of a strengthened economic and diplomatic relationship between the two countries.
On the surface, to the uninitiated, Canada and the UAE can appear as different as snow and sand. Yet we're deeply, deeply aligned. At our core, we're both trading nations.
At the Canada-UAE Business Council Summit, Mark Carney highlighted how both nations are in a position to lead the global clean energy transition and announced the start of a new agreement valued at more than $1 billion to expand critical mineral processing capacity in Canada.
This is a new chapter in our relationship, a new chapter in our partnership.
Delegations of big funders from both nations will also be exchanging visits next year. Trips made easier by Canada and the UAE confirming more direct commercial flights are coming. With the Canada-US trade war waging on, the political stakes are high for Carney to deliver on diversifying Canada's economy quickly.
This is really important to AI infrastructure build out, data centers, mining projects, infrastructure. Everything that Canada wants to build will need a large amount of money, and the UAE is a good starting point for that.
Briefly speaking with reporters here before his speech, Carney said he wants that new trade deal wrapped up within a year. He also confirmed that he did raise Canada's concerns about the issue in Sudan with the UAE president directly. Rachel Aiello, CTV News, Abu Dhabi.
All right, please do stay tuned. Noah will be right back after the break with a look at your weekend weather.